Welcome to another episode of the Lantern Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett Soldano, and I'm extremely excited to have my fellow co-founder here, Ron Armstrong.
Great to be here. Lots to talk about today.
And our director, Tammy Clark, here to talk about some issues that are going on the Repeal 1945 law that we are basically backing, and then we'll go from there.
This movement seeks to empower people to stand up for our sacred values, our citizen rights, and constitutional freedoms that were inked on that piece of paper by our forefathers.
Shining a light on the darkness of today's challenges. This is the Lantern Podcast.
So let's just first begin with a little bit. I know a lot of people know who you are, Tammy, but let's just let's have you kind of tell us about your background and everything else to let everybody know who you are and what you're about.
Okay, yeah, it's great to be here. I'm excited to be leading the charge and joining the team with Stand Up Michigan. This is an organization and movement I've been watching for many years, or many months, I should say.
Feels like years.
I know. It's already been a long couple months, right? But I've been just keeping an eye on this organization and have been watching the podcast with Garrett for quite a while. And as a business owner, it's been very concerning to me what's been happening in our state, the overreach and the abuse of power. So when I got involved with Stand Up Michigan, I came to the organization really to try to make a difference and try to help unlock Michigan, basically, which was a great fit for me. My background is in environmental health, safety, compliance consulting. I've owned a health, safety, and compliance consulting firm for about 10 years now. But I've owned a construction firm for many years. So I got into health and safety and compliance really out of necessity as a business owner myself. I've become an OSHA instructor, environmental health and safety compliance instructor. I've got a lot of credentials in the medical environment and medical field and with environmental health and safety. So moving into this position was something I wanted to do just basically to help my fellow business owners and all Michigan citizens. So the mask issue has been a big thing for me out of concern. As a PPE expert, I've done a lot of PPE testing, and I was very, very concerned when I started seeing the direction we were going with requiring masks, especially for children. I know some of you have seen some of the broadcasts that we've done on that, some of the lives we've done on that. But that's really my background and what I bring to this organization from the business owner perspective and from an environmental health and safety PPE expert, scientific and medical perspective. It's been beyond concerning to me what we're doing. So I'm very excited to be getting involved in helping to unlock this state.
Well, it's great to have you with us. It's been we needed another face, but we had no idea what expertise we were getting along with that because we didn't know where we were headed or what was the next executive order that may come down. And in this case, the timing turned out to be perfect to have your experience because I don't think Garrett and I, either one, had any experience in the area of understanding what mask did or didn't do. What we understood was more about the science and the data that went along with it. So,
and that's the great thing about this movement. It just continues to evolve, and we don't have the answers to everything, but it seems like we can continue to attract the right people at the right time. And you have been a blessing with your knowledge and your background to really answer a lot of the unanswered questions that we couldn't answer. And watching your live the other day and watching you answer, I mean, it blew my mind with the knowledge that I got just from answering, I think, or listening to you. And I think the video on YouTube is, 75,000 views now and climbing. And so that means, we're getting the message out. And that's the one thing we have to continue to do, especially as an organization, as a movement, is to give this up-to-date, accurate, truthful information, regardless of, political affiliation or bias or somebody's narrative. People just want to know the truth. What can we tell them? What can we explain to them? So parents, especially, because I'm a parent and all of us here are parents today, we just want that knowledge so we can make the best decision for our family and for our kids.
Exactly. And that was really my concern because the facts, the science, and the data that we're hearing this all the time. We're basing these decisions on facts and science and data. And we've been, show me the science, show me the facts, show me the data. The information, first of all, it's not coming out. They're not being transparent. And what we are hearing is not factual. It's not true science. It's not true data. And that has been where my red flags and those in my field, environmental health and safety professionals, are going, wait a minute, whoa, this is not right. There's something very wrong here. Just the fact that OSHA is even going along with this and mandating something, and I laid all this out in my videos, mandating something that just 6 months ago they would have cited contractors for doing. Now they're telling contractors to do it, violating their own historical standards. So all of us in my profession and behind the scenes have been screaming this from the rooftops, like there is something very, very wrong here. So, a lot of people can't speak out. They're afraid to. I hear from health professionals, medical professionals all the time, nurses, lab techs, those that are working in the hospital setting. They can't speak out. They have to go along with the narrative because they are afraid to lose their jobs.
Yeah, not only their jobs, their whole livelihood, their career, because you get
Exactly.
blacklisted in that industry, you're done.
Exactly. And it's understandable. And so I have a lot of sympathy for people that are, very frustrated. They're not feeling well working in masks or, whatever, but they just can't speak up. So those of us like Kristen Megan, who did one of the lives with me, who are able to, because we are not controlled by an employer, really need to. If those of us who are able don't stand up and speak up, who's going to? So that's why I felt really I have a civic responsibility and a moral obligation to speak the truth.
We do. And, I think where we're at today is this is just one, order number 147 in regard to
Right.
masks. And now we have 148, 149, which were issued yesterday, which were extensions on timeframes on
Right.
other executive orders that she'd had. I don't know how she keeps track of all of them. But it's something that we need to talk about, which is really unlock Michigan. It's what our goal had been from the very beginning. Garrett, I can't tell you how many lives that he did in discussing that once we got people back to work, we thought it was permanently back to work. We thought
Right.
once we opened up that we were on a trajectory, and we actually are on that trajectory. Hospitalizations are down 85 to 90% from mid-April. The only thing that's up is cases. Because why? We're testing more people. Now, everybody's hearing this now, but it's like it can't sink in past a
Right.
certain spot, especially
Right.
in the media. And if you're testing 25,000 people a day
Right.
in a state like Michigan, or 20 to 23,000, I think I saw last week, you're going to, of course, get more people that test positive.
Right.
What does that mean? The average person now that is testing positive is, I believe, about 31 years old. But 31-year-olds rarely ever are sick from this. So getting a virus and being sick enough to need medical care are two completely different things. And what we're finding is, again, there's not an increase drastically in any way, shape, or form in hospitalizations. Uptick, of course, but we
Right.
can go back to all kinds of things. As we go back to normal life, we are going to have more people interacting. Therefore, you're also going to get more spread. But we need that in order for it to get, and I think, Garrett, it's good comments from you, is getting it through the system. You're the man about immune system, so tell us a little bit about that.
Herd immunity. That's the biggest thing. We have to allow it to go through. And the whole purpose of this whole thing in the beginning was to what? To flatten the curve, to not overwhelm the medical system. It wasn't to cure it. Social distancing is not going to cure it. Wearing masks is not going to cure it. It's not a matter of if I get this virus, it's when. So right now what's happening, and it's what's scary, is we have a society that's stressed. We have a society with no hope. That is all proven to lower your immune system. This is the wrong time for you to lower your immune system. So alcohol and drug abuse are through the roof. I had to actually talk somebody out of committing suicide last night who called and left a voicemail on my phone and said, if you don't call me back, this will be the last time you hear my voice. Because I wish that this was a rare occurrence, but this happens all the time. People are just fed up. And when you have a unilateral governor continue to bring down the tyrannical hammer without any scientific data on the basis, because in the beginning it was all about flattening the curve. Then it evolved into cases and deaths. Now the deaths are going away. Now we have to figure out something else to talk about. Let's talk about increased cases. We'll just test more. We'll just increase testing. And you can see where this narrative is going. I'm calling it out right now. If she hasn't already, she's going to probably put us down again and shut the restaurants down completely, shut the salons, close everything down again for this second wave that everybody keeps talking about. And it's funny that you mentioned about, the 30 to 31-year-old on average who is getting tested and getting with asymptomatic. It must be a very scary virus for you to have to get tested to even know that you have it. That's the
Exactly.
funny part. So you get the symptoms, you get immunity, and you're done. And so the sooner we can get this through society, the better it's going to be forever, for everybody.
It is indeed. And you know, every time we do a live, I know a lot of people out there are hurting. We hear it every day. A lot of people think, you know, what is Stand Up Michigan about? Well, we didn't plan on being a counseling agency.
No.
We did plan on people being able to share their stories with others, and we see everybody who posts, there are hundreds and hundreds of other people commenting on that I understand, or I'm here for you, or I'm praying for you, or whatever, to let them know they're not alone. But you also see other people worse off than you, which is what you see when you go, I need to stop feeling sorry for myself. I still have a job, or whatever. And then there are others that haven't been able to get through unemployment for all the time, though all these state people got put to the front of the line. That was kind of convenient. And here we are still today, trying to grasp on what is happening now. What do we think is going to happen next week? And the bottom line is, it's up to her. And
Right.
that's where we're at. So we have to eventually change this, and that's where Unlock Michigan came from.
Yes, sir.
And I guess I'd like to, Garrett, go back to the beginning when you talked about this Repeal 45. It was the very, very beginning, like first week.
It was the first week, and that's when we were the group, the Michiganders Against Excessive Quarantine, which we grew to over 300,000 people in 3.5 days. And that we always had three objectives from the very beginning. There's number one, let's flatten the curve, obviously. All right, we wanted to do that. Number two is to get us back to work as fast and as safe as possible. We wanted to restore our constitutional freedoms, our sacred values, our citizen rights. And the final objective was always, we've always talked about this from the very beginning, was to repeal the 1945 so we don't have the definition of insanity. They're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's what's going on right now. She continues to bring down her unilateral control, her tyrannical hammer, and she continues to do the definition of insanity and continue to take things away and give it back. Take things away, give them back. If that's not tyranny 101, then I don't know what is.
And at every time that happens, and I think you've probably seen it or heard about it, Tammy, is that people tend to comply. They tend to go along, and then when you get a little something back, you feel good about it. They take it back again, and the next time it's easier to give it up, isn't it? That's I think where we're at today. What are you hearing from these people that are not knowing? Because you're hearing from new people and different people than we have heard from over the last couple months.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because those actually working in the field, in the trades, the skilled trades in particular, they are very frustrated. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle this. Just yesterday, I had a group of roofers working in face masks in the 85-degree weather, and I'm getting these calls that, hey, we got to get these guys off the roof. They're working in face masks. The last thing we need is roofers to be getting dizzy and falling off the roof. But they don't know what to do because they're being told they have to wear masks. And they're very confused. And I'm saying, no, you don't need to wear masks. You're outdoors. You're doing trade work. We have to always look at the greater hazard. What creates a greater hazard here? Well, clearly making you lightheaded. You're not getting enough oxygen. In the higher heat, higher humidity, your oxygen levels are reduced to begin with. Then we cover your mouth and nose and we make you do stressful, strenuous physical work. And you're going to be getting lightheaded and nauseated. And this is what I'm hearing constantly. So I have directed my clients, you are not to be working in a face mask. It is actually creating a greater hazard. And that's what we look at. But then, of course, I have my OSHA come on site and want to get in everybody's business about why they're not wearing face masks. So it's a very conflicted, very confusing thing. And people will come at me and say, well, OSHA says. And as an OSHA instructor and an OSHA environmental health and safety professional who's very well versed with the historical data and the regulations and the standards, my concern is, yes, but this has never been their stance before. They're now violating their very own standards, creating all kinds of confusion because this governor has weaponized them against the business owners. So nobody knows what to do. So now I've got trade contractors threatening to not come to work and general contractors not knowing what to do because they're supposed to refuse anybody who doesn't wear a mask, but then they can't get their jobs done. And the trade contractor saying, electrical contractor I heard from yesterday said, if I actually do this, we're creating a greater hazard. My guys have to be able to see in these live panels. And we put a mask on them and their glasses fog up, they could electrocute themselves. I mean, think about what we're doing here, the insanity of what we're doing.
And that's what we've always said from the beginning is the solution to this thing can't be bigger than what's going to happen from all these rules that are being put down. And there has never been any long-term studies on children in masks all day long. Yeah. And so when you say, especially when the children aren't the ones that are dying from this, I think in the state of Nebraska, and I have to look this up, but from a source that I talked to this morning, there were more school shooting deaths in the state of Nebraska than COVID deaths. So why aren't we telling all the kids to wear bulletproof vests to go to school?
Right.
You know, we're telling them to wear masks to protect against the virus. Oh, but we're protecting everybody else and the elderly and then you got to stay quarantined. You got to protect. They have to protect themselves regardless when this virus goes away, from the flu and every other virus that comes into our society. It doesn't make sense to basically punish 99.5% of us with these mandates and the mask up, when over time you're going to see the catastrophic effects. You heard it here first. From all these situations, from trade workers and everybody else, and children and everything else, it's going to go happen. It's going to go wrong.
It is, and I think, you know, in the beginning, again, all these doctors' prognostications of where we were going to be. We were going to have, 20 million deaths, 10 million deaths, 3 million deaths. It just goes on and on. Well, we don't know. Well, we didn't know. We're using the models, right? Now all of a sudden we have real data overseas. Kids have been back to school overseas in like 11 countries over there. And in the studies of those, they're finding young kids are not getting it, number one. They don't understand why their immune system has them not get it. But more importantly, if they get it, they are not transmitting it to anyone else. Now that data is real now. That's not like we think this is the case. So what are we doing in the schools? If anything, if your teachers are worried about it because of themselves, then the teachers, I guess, need to keep their social distancing. Maybe they want to wear masks if they're immunocompromised and they're a teacher. But the children need to be normal, because if any group of people needs to get this through the system, it's them. Correct? It's not drag it out over the next year or two to have it run through them. Let it run through like it does with any other virus. And it has been proven over there. YMCA study, 40,000 children. Basically, they did not see any increase in the number of cases when they went back to school. They didn't see any increase in the kids taking it and giving it to people at home. But now that's proven fact, and it's like we cannot hear. They won't go on the real facts, but they were willing to jump to conclusions and shut down our entire economy based on something that was based on models, not fact.
And I think to go in there, I think it's both sides too. That they're so afraid of being proved wrong, to give ammunition to the other side. They're not willing to just go out there and say, you know what? Nobody knew what was right or wrong from the very beginning. This is all new for everybody.
And we accepted that.
We accept it. And we still will accept it to the day. We just need leadership to stand up and say, hey, you know what? We're going to figure this out. Let's look at all the data, just like you said, from overseas, and let's start putting together some good plans, regardless of political affiliation, narrative agenda, all this bias, because we have to do what's right for Americans now.
We do. And I want to ask all of you out there as you watch this, is if you would have been told 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago that from April until we get to July, that we would be down between 85 and 90% in those hospitalizations. And in those deaths, it's much more than that, obviously.
We would be celebrating.
We would be celebrating.
We'd be like, we
told
did
you
it.
That. We did it, and we could say we did it because whatever, because we shut down, because of what you could give whatever. It doesn't matter what the reason is. The fact is, where we are today, we should be going back to normal, and we're acting as if we were going to cure the disease, and it switched to this whole other concept. And just asking you, because most people are not aware of how low those hospitalizations. We have all kinds of capacities, and when you hear the word 95% of capacity at a hospital, that's normal, because they're allowing other things. They aren't COVID patients. And then we have the whole thing of what is a COVID patient. Those that are there, are they in for a shoulder surgery and they're positive? They're a COVID patient. We don't even know those numbers because we can't get told those numbers.
No.
But even if we did, the numbers are 300, 350 is what we've had statewide in hospitals. Most of them have 0 patients in them. Lots of counties in Michigan have had 0 deaths, but we've destroyed businesses, lives. A lot of people have died. A lot more have died.
We've even destroyed the medical systems. I know quite a few doctors and nurses and medical professionals, because I rub shoulders with them and I work in those fields, that even these health systems in Michigan are so struggling now that they are laying off doctors and nurses. They are slashing salaries by 50%. And it's happened overnight. They come to a health professional and say, you want to keep your job? Sign this. Your paycheck is now 50% less than it was.
And I'm not going to say the name of the hospital, but one of my people that I know, their child broke or got stitches, got bit by a dog. And they went to the hospital, and she was totally against the mask ever since the beginning. She's like, okay, I got to take my kid in. I'm going to wear the mask. She finally gets in the hospital room, and the doctor and nurse come in, and she takes her mask off, and she says, I can't wear this. I feel like I'm going to pass out. And the doctor and nurse both said, yeah, we don't wear ours either.
Well, we know that that's the truth behind the scenes. and
Exactly.
We hear that, but it doesn't fit the narrative.
It does not
So
fit the
the
narrative.
great news is we've got a solution on the table,
Yes.
not just for this, but for all times going forward. We've got to talk about Unlock Michigan, because that is the solution that we lie today. It's the reason, honestly, for this podcast. We have done so much in the way of complaining to each other about where we're at and the anger and the frustration. We have to funnel that anger and frustration into motivation
In activation.
and activation.
Solutions.
And solutions, that's right. And we have it, and guess what? Every single person out there today plays a part in that.
Yes.
So Unlock Michigan is a repeal of the 45 law or act. Now, all of you understand where that's at. We've had some confusion with people in regard to what is the difference between the petitions. So I want to just spend just a couple of minutes on that.
Yeah, I think
What
it's
have you
important
heard?
that people understand the 45 law to begin with. There's a lot of people that are very even
Yeah.
fuzzy about that, the act and the law,
Well,
and what are we doing?
yeah.
Will it matter right now? I'm getting a lot of those questions still.
Yeah, well,
so-
75 years ago, after World War II, they created this Emergency Act. Obviously, it was in the time of atomic bombs. It was in time of major things that could go on, and they needed to be able to say, hey, everybody has to stay home, control whatever it is through emergency powers. There's a lot of things that were there. But 31 years later, they created a 76 law, and the 76 law literally laid out various areas, and they actually named things like a pandemic. Imagine that. But they laid out different things that those emergency powers might fill. Now, it's important to have an act like that because there are situations, certainly in certain areas. We can mention ones, so I'm going to finish the 76 a little bit. When you had the Midland situation with flooding, when you had the Flint issue with water, when you have rivers that are flooding, when you had a sinkhole over by Detroit, there are areas and situations where you need that. It also allows you, when you have those emergency orders in place, to be able to attract federal funds,
Right.
sometimes at a different level if it's considered an emergency area.
Because you have to act now. I mean, lives are at risk.
Right.
Infrastructure.
And the great news, they were smart when they did that, and that they put a 28-day limit on it, and then
Right.
it has to be reviewed. It can be done by area, but at that point, the rules, regulations, and they're going forward have legislative. They're involved in the process.
Right. So I think it's important to note that those laws have to be taken together. Right.
Well,
and
well,
that
the-
the
well, that's what-
76 law
well, the-
expounded on the 45 law,
Well, it
which
actually
is where,
defined it, which means
Right.
45 should have been repealed or
Exactly.
abolished when they did that.
They did.
Right.
But what they understood was, even though they didn't do that, is that typically the newer law always prevails, and you don't go back to
Correct.
the older one, especially when it comes to court. And so
Right.
she went off 76 until it didn't work anymore.
Right.
Then she went to 45, and the 45 law has no limits on it.
right.
Therefore, once she claimed it, and she had it until the emergency was over, but that's the question. Under her original definition, what did she say when the emergency would be over?
Flatten the curve.
Flatten the curve, enough PPEs, enough hospital beds, enough hospital staff. Those were the things we needed in order to flatten the curve and have the emergency where we can handle the capacity to take care of our citizens.
Because nobody knew if this virus had any teeth or not.
Well, and we were full of hospitals at that time. Now,
Yep.
little did we know that a third or more than that were coming from nursing homes at the time because the data wasn't provided to us.
Right.
However, it doesn't matter, they were full. So we did the right thing for a couple, 3 weeks. Those numbers began, if you look literally weekly to biweekly from mid-April, they crashed by 1,000 or more a week,
Oh, yeah.
every single week. From
We succeeded.
We
did
succeeded.
it.
Right.
Yes, we did. And so now we have 45 laws. So what happened was the legislature extended her 28 days the first time for only, they didn't extend it for 28 days. They extended it just till April 30th.
Right.
When they did that, I didn't agree with it then, but all of them not having the science and data, not knowing that it was being compiled and not provided to them at the time, though some of them had an idea, and they were literally poking around to say, why don't we have this information? Isn't anybody keeping this? Well, yeah, she was in a lockbox, not providing it to them. But they went ahead and thought, we got to do the right thing. What happens if we do this and all of a sudden we really are overwhelmed? So you understand the position they're in, and they're legislators,
Right.
they're not doctors.
Right.
So we go through that next section. But when it came to April 30th, and during that time, once you give the emergency powers, then she can have any executive order basically that she wants within that, and no one has a say. So we have one person creating all of the rules, all of the laws. It doesn't matter, obviously, though we are in court right now. The legislature did not extend April 30th. So what we have now is she's gone back to the 45. So the legislature sued her to say, you cannot go to the 45. You have to act, and we need to have a say in going forward. We need to have a part in this as the checks and balances were meant to be in place. And so what's happened is now is it's in court. They tried to escalate it to the Supreme Court quickly, which you'd think would have happened. They
Right.
sent it back to the appellate court first. It's just typical court. So they went back to the appellate court saying you can't bypass it. So the appellate court's going to hear this in August at some point in time. Regardless of which side prevails there, it's going to then end up being appealed to the Supreme Court. So they're going to get the case. It's probably going to be in September, and the reason is there are a couple other lawsuits, a federal lawsuit and an individual lawsuits that are also going to be before the Supreme Court. But specifically, there's a federal one, and they're holding that case, which already says the governor went overboard with her executive orders that stepped on constitutional rights and freedoms, which was under 45, and that she definitely went beyond what she should have been able to do.
And I think a lot of people need to understand that. Number one is you see a lot of the comments about the legislature now. What are they doing? They're not doing enough. They can't. They're handcuffed. They cannot do anything until this is done.
And they're also involved in legislation. And I know you all know that when there's pending legislation, especially when you are the plaintiff, whatever, you cannot go out and talk about pending legislation. Not to mention you have a group of judges that are going to hear this, and it doesn't do you any good there. Believe me when I
Right.
say that there is pent-up frustration and anger, and individually you're hearing these people share it. But in the capacity of their job, they are limited because they're being told by legal counsel there's only so much you can say.
And I think you hit the point too, is that is 60 to 90 days at the earliest away. And that's why people, they want something now. And that's what we can give them right now, is the repeal of 1945. We can get a win for the
It is.
people.
And the great thing with this is, again, and there's a lot of confusion out there about these petitions. The Restore Freedom petition, a lot of people think they have signed something of ours. Literally, it was just approved on July the 6th. It went to printing, and pretty much the 10th of July was when the first petitions were available. So anything you did before the 10th of July was not Unlock Michigan. We've just begun promoting it in the last week. Petitions are going out in the mail to people. I've already gotten them, and people are circulating or beginning to. The difference with those, again, is the Restore Freedom would have needed signatures delivered to the Board of Canvassers by the 6th of July. If they didn't collect enough signatures by then, they can continue to get signatures, which they are. But that will then not be able to go on the ballot until 2022, 2.5 years from now, at the minimum, if everything goes through.
And I can't wait that long.
We're not waiting that long, but that was the first front. People say, why aren't you all doing the same thing? Because we don't know what's going to succeed, but something has to succeed.
Correct.
So then we have 2 more petitions. Everybody's heard about recall. I understand that. That one, first of all, was approved the Board of Canvassers, then was appealed by the governor in language, and is now going before a hearing this month. They cannot begin circulating that one until at least the 28th of July. That one needs 1,062,000 signatures plus, and then it would, at that point in time, have to get signatures verified, and then would have to create an election that won't be at least until 2021, sometime if you get those. And if we get that done, and if they recall the governor, then you get the Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist as your governor. So I don't know what you've changed in structure overall, but I understand the need that people have to do something. And what we're saying is right now, in 2020, we can do this. And what's different about 45 is the repeal of 45 only requires, number one, about 375,000 signatures. Obviously, we're looking at 425 to 500 so that we overwhelm the numbers as they begin to randomly check signatures. There are so many that if they don't run into problems, we can get the signatures verified enough quicker. Once we get those verified, all it then requires is a simple majority of the House and Senate. And once they have voted on that, it immediately repeals the law. It is veto-proof. She cannot touch it. It is gone, and therefore her executive orders are gone with it. Now, in the meantime, if something happens with one of these lawsuits, it's great because it could literally take those away immediately. Once they hear you could not act on this or you overstepped your bounds, that's great. It still won't change our need to repeal the 45.
So let
Right.
me play devil's advocate
Okay.
and just give you a scenario so I'm clear, because this is all new to me too as we go down this journey, just like politics. So we repeal 1945 law. It happens. We're victorious. The legislators vote. It goes through. We did it. Then another emergency happens. Let's say November, catastrophic. I don't know, a flood, another Flint water crisis. What happens then? She can go off the 76 law.
She could
correct?
go off the 76 law for 28 days in regards to a situation, but there are situations. I mean, it is what it is. I think what we're hoping is that between the repeal 45 and the lawsuits that are there, that there will be enough courts stepping on the fact that our constitutional rights do not go away even in the time of a pandemic.
Yes.
Right.
Our ability to have freedom of religion, be with your family, individual decisions do not go away. And that eventually, I believe, will prevail in the courts. When that does, then there might be some rules set in the future under 76. And is everything perfect? No, but if these executive orders hadn't existed, you would have been able to fish and ride in a golf cart and buy paint, and you would have been able to go to work, and you wouldn't have been told in your business that you have to shut, you have to open, you can only be this is your capacity. Those things would not have been able to be done because under the legislature after the 28 days, they would have to be involved in those decisions and the framework involved,
Exactly.
which would be the phased reopening. They were willing to say, let's use the national phased plan, and then we'll go through these areas. We could have, I think, well, now we'd love to live with those. At the time, we were thinking they were even difficult. So Unlock Michigan is here. We need your help. Our goal basically is, look, this movement that we have here. We attracted 300 and some thousand people, 386, 87,000 people. We have over 92,500 followers now on our Facebook page. We're across all platforms, and there are so many more of you out there that are angry today than maybe were angry back in April. And what we're saying to you is, if you sign up on Unlock Michigan, what you're going to do is you're going to get 4 petitions in your mailbox so that you can at least go get your family, your friends, your coworkers. If you coach a sport, everyone can find 10 or 20 people that would sign this petition. And the one thing we know about the 45 law and being repealed is we will have Republicans, Democrats. It will be a bipartisan effort when it's voted on, because here's my question for those of you out there that have people running in House seats all over the state of Michigan. We have to ask every one of them today, and through these next few weeks as we go into August, we have to ask them, would you vote to repeal 45 if indeed it turns out that this vote comes after you are elected, if you're elected? And the reason we ask that question is that if you say no, you are saying, I want to be a legislator, but I don't believe I should have a say sometimes.
Exactly.
I think the governor should be there. You, believe it or not, know if you're going to be running for a legislative position that the House has a specific responsibility. So does the Senate and the governor. It's called 3 equal branches of
Right.
government. There are checks and balances that are there. If you don't believe in checks and balances, you don't believe in the Constitution, you have no right in running. Everyone should agree that no individual, whether it's a Senate leader, a governor, a president, anyone should have full authority over everyone. That is what, Garrett? Tyranny. And that's what we're facing with, and we've come to accept it. So anyone who's running that says, oh, no, I wouldn't repeal that, I think the governor should have, then why are you running? Because she has said that you are irresponsible. That's right. And we are it is ridiculous and radical of what we're doing and trying to repeal 45. Well, that means she's saying that the legislature as a whole could not possibly have a say in this and do it right. Only she can.
And also just to go off of that, this is a win now if we get this done. We don't have to wait around, and that's what people want, especially when the governor continues down this journey that she's on, and she continues to get a little bit more threatening, a little bit more forcefully. And I want to read a direct quote from her press conference that she did several days ago regarding the mask. And she said, and I quote, "At the end of the day, it is on all of us to do our part to educate the people around us, whether it is in a store or in a household or in a neighborhood or in our workplace. We have got to implore one another to step up and do the right thing. Michiganders are smart, we are tough, and can figure out how to do it politely, but also forcefully." She basically gave permission to the citizens of this great state to forcefully tell people to wear a mask. That scares me.
It is.
You cannot say those things as a leader.
No,
And I
agree.
don't, and I know she has no idea when you talk about stress. People that are working today in restaurants or in business know when they go to work they're going to be confronted on a daily basis with their management, with their customers, with people calling on a telephone, and it's either, why do I have to wear this, or it is, why aren't they wearing this, why aren't you wearing this, whatever. And these are supposedly what happened to the individual rights and choices and freedoms. Now, you as a business owner have the ability what is done in, or should, inside the doors of your building. Obviously, all those are out the window with her. She controls every aspect of your business, how many people can be there, how they have to sit, where they can be, what masks they have to wear. She literally, what else isn't she controlling? So what these people have got to do now is deal with that on a daily basis, and it isn't fair to them, it isn't normal, and we're creating a society that not only is more divided as we go forward. So what can we do? We can sign. Everyone get a petition. Get them delivered to your house. We also have groups and businesses. If you're out there and you have a business and you're willing to set up a signing place at your business, and you know the majority of the people that come through that door would sign that, you just need to literally send an email to info@unlockmichigan.com, and we will make sure that you get a batch of petitions also. Because this, once we get these signatures, and our goal, I know that they've said 180 days, it's not going to be 180 days.
Nope.
Our goal is right now is to get this done. Obviously, if it's in 30 to 60 days, it has to be done. I also believe if we get this done and get the signatures, it's going to put pressure on the legislature, the appellate level, and especially the Supreme Court to say, this has already shown that the people overwhelmingly know this isn't right. And that gives a lot of cover to say, you can't act under that. You have to go back and replace, eventually, the checks and balances have to be put back in play.
Right.
And so many people have been reaching out ever since the beginning. What can I do? What can I do? And I'm calling those people out now. This is what you can do. You can no longer just voice your opinion on social media. That doesn't work. You have to activate yourself, and you have to take the action. You have to get the petition. You got to get your 30 to 40 friends and family members to sign this. You all are a part of the solution. We've always said this. The solutions have to come from where? We the people, not the government. And so it's your time to stand up. It's your time to get this done and be a part of history.
And I think people need to understand too. I'm getting a lot of questions. How do I get a petition? I signed up. Where do I get a petition? I think people need to understand this is very doable because we do have bipartisan support in the legislature. So it's very doable once we get the petitions. So to get the petitions, you need to go to unlockmichigan.com, fill out the information, and you will be sent, like Ron said, you will be sent 4 petitions, 4 pages of petitions. So you need to sign up, and that's how you get your petitions. They will be coming in the mail. And keep an eye on your email that you enter, because you'll be getting frequent emails from us.
And I want to say that this is not a normal, traditional way. We are doing things non-traditional. And the reason we are is because of all of you. Because so many of you have voiced individually, and they're saying, look, what can I do? So we're saying we're going to deliver these to you. Every single person that fills this out will get the petition sent to them, and we can stay in touch with you by email. We can keep you updated. And by the way, we're going to keep you updated with the numbers as they start coming in. Where are we at?
That's why it's so important for you, if you haven't already, to join our Facebook group.
That's
To
correct.
Stand Up Michigan, to Unlock Michigan. If you haven't, you have to join that, because that's where Ron and I and Tammy will be on, and we'll be updating you on everything to do with this
And there's
repeal
one
45.
question, just one question now.
Yeah.
That's all you have to answer. Please answer the one question when you join, and you're automatically going to be coming into the group. Otherwise, you go into a queue. And currently, we've had anywhere from 16 to 20,000 people in a queue that we have to go through individually to see if they're real. We have trolls, if there are all kinds of people that try and infiltrate a group like ours. So that takes time, and therefore it literally could be a couple of weeks till we even can get to you. So if you answer the question there, if you get a reminder, go to your notifications. It will tell you that you've been invited, and all you have to do is say accept, answer the question, and you're in. And if you have been invited and you didn't respond, we even will send a reminder notification as well. We're only doing that so all of you have a place to hear us, but we do this all across platforms. So we'll be doing lives off of our Facebook page into our group. They'll be then shared on YouTube, so you're going to be able to find these videos and share these videos off of those two platforms, the page in Unlock Michigan through our YouTube channel.
Yep.
And you'll be able to see those videos and share them again with others so that they can get this information. But together, we can accomplish anything.
And plus, too, just to go off just what you just said with our YouTube channel, is that's where we're basically uploading all of our videos. You know, once we do them on Facebook, we're uploading them on YouTube, and then we're putting them in our secure site and our locals inside our website so they can never get taken down. So many times in the past, we have great content. We have great information. And the deep tech, the oligarchs, take it down and it's lost forever. So we have basically built backup plans. So make sure that you're subscribing to the YouTube channel.
And you're going to end up seeing over the next few weeks, a couple of weeks, a lot of leadership and people in the business community and legislature that we're going to have on and doing some interviews with. A lot of people think, but this is a citizens petition initiative. This has all been done by we the people, but we want you to know that we do have strength at the top. It's just that it has to be done by us, and that's what we're doing. But when we say us, it isn't us. It's you.
It's you.
It's you. It's the only way that it's going to be done. And so go again to and sign up. On our Facebook page, there are links everywhere on there for you to sign up and get your petitions. If you need more when you get your petitions in the mail, there's literally a box right on there that says need more petitions. You can also go to info@unlockmichigan.com and request a batch of petitions if you need them. So that's our goal for this next couple of weeks, and we need everybody to be activated so that we can unlock Michigan and return checks and balances and return our lives to normal.
Amen. So what can we do right now, Ron?
What we can do right now is, again, activate ourselves and those around us. And that means go to, the easiest way to do it actually is to go to standupmichigan.com. That's our website. Just scroll down just a little bit and you will see right there the link that will let you sign up. All it's going to ask for is your information, your address, your email, and therefore we will be sending you a petition kit. And a petition kit includes 4 petitions. You'll get information and links to videos on how exactly you fill out a petition. It's very simple. And they are mailers that you just put tape on and mail them back in, or if you have all 4, you can drop them in another envelope. So you can do it there, and also you can go to unlockmichigan.com/standupmichigan. That is another link that you can do if you want to do it off of our group or page, or you just want to look that up. Either way, order your petitions kits today so that you have them. If you don't have 40 people, that's fine, but you can have an extra petition or 2 so that you have somebody that says, oh, I'm going to a ball game tonight. If I had one, I could get it filled out. The quicker we all do this together, the quicker that we get this unlocked.
Perfect. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Lantern Podcast, where we, the people, will continue to be the lantern in the darkness of today's challenges. Until next time, folks. Goodbye.